Welcome to Mic'd at the Press Club, a monthly series featuring arts writer Agata Popęda in conversation with the artists, thinkers, and creators featured in the Monterey County Weekly. Be sure to check for upcoming events in our print and online calendars.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mic'd Up at the Press Club. I love to see so many returning faces and a few new ones. I would like to introduce Agata Popęda, our arts and culture writer. And I met earlier someone named Howard Burnham, but I don't see him in the room anymore. And I'm pretty sure that instead we're going to have a visit from Ebenezer Scrooge. So, please to enjoy.
Good morning. Hello. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Mr. Scrooge. I was dying to meet you for a long time, many years, actually. How are you doing today?
Horribly.
Well...
What am I doing here? Who are these people? What's the point of this?
They all are great fan of yours. So, you know, since...
They want a loan? They want some money from me? But
how are you feeling about the upcoming holidays?
holiday? Mm-hmm. What holiday? Don't believe in holidays. Don't make merry myself. Can't afford to make idle people merry.
See?
No, definitely not.
Is it nice to be grumpy all the time? There must be a part of you that enjoys it seems.
Well, I am what I am. It is what it is. Well, grumpy. What else is there to be in this mad world in which we live? What is there to be happy about? Nothing, apart from making a profit. That's the one thing that does make me happy. Every evening I go to my tavern and I look at my banker's book, and that makes me feel just a little bit better, because I like to squeeze money out of people. Again, you want to make an investment with me? My interest rates are very high.
Are you in America for business? I was a bit surprised when I encountered you last week in Monterey.
No, I heard that there was a gold rush here in California, but I appear to be somewhat late getting here.
I was thinking that maybe you want to escape a holiday season in England.
Definitely. Get away from people going around idiots with Merry Christmas on their lips. They should be boiled alive and buried with a stake of hollies with their heart. Should.
So tell us about, even though you clearly don't like it, you must be an expert on Christmas in England, and maybe you, if you don't mind talking about it, I don't know, maybe it's triggering, but about English Christmas traditions.
In my day, well, I suppose that they would eat to excess. They'd bring in the Yule log to keep them warm. Waste of good timber, if you ask me. And of course they'd consume plenty of good punch. Mulled wine, overindulgence, make themselves thoroughly objectionable and sick. Serves them right. Mm-hmm. I don't think... and of course there were 12 days of it. 12 days of Christmas, 12 days of indulgence. Ridiculous, totally ridiculous. One day would be enough. 1 hour would be more than enough, if you ask me.
What about Boxing Day?
Boxing Day, that's even worse. You put money into a box, and on Boxing Day it's opened and given to the poor, rather than reinvest it to make more money. I hate Boxing Day. It's a great waste of money.
So, according to some expert on the subject, you've been perhaps maybe once an actual living person, and only later you became a fictional character. Could you reveal us actual origins?
Well, like wretched man Dickens, I suppose, kidnapped me and turned me into this literary figure. But I'm given to understand that there are at least 3 candidates to be the original of Scrooge. There was Jemmy Wotton, the Gloucester banker millionaire, supposedly the 3rd wealthiest man in England, who refused categorically to give any money to the poor, and at his funeral, apparently, his coffin was stoned by the poor. And then there was John Elwes, Member of Parliament for Berkshire, which the Americans insist on pronouncing as Berkshire, because it's spelt that way. Strikes me as being very unadventurous for the Americans. MP for Berkshire was so mean that apparently he complained that birds were pinching his straw to make their nests. Finally, there was Ebenezer Scrooge, who was a victualler, a purveyor in Edinburgh. It's claimed that Dickens saw his tombstone and turned him into Ebenezer Scrooge. Literary historians, however, maintain that that's pure fiction on the part of Edinburgh trying to cash in on the Dickens nexus. Seems to be every town, every community in the world is cashing in on Dickens and his Christmas Carol.
Well,
and I'm not getting any percentage of it.
well, you kind of, this is what we're doing, kind of, you know.
Right, I hope I am now. Yeah, quite.
Another question, very important. Isn't it a great irony that you, after fighting Christmas so much, became an icon of Christmas in a way, you know?
I'm not Russian Orthodox. I've no wish to become an icon. No.
Too late.
No, right. No. Or Greek Orthodox for that matter. No. Icons should be in churches. Shouldn't be me anyway. No, don't like being an icon. No.
Okay.
Only if I get percentage for being an icon. That's all right.
Right. So are you staying in Monterey County for the whole holiday season?
Unfortunately, I appear to be trapped.
So what is your plan for Christmas in California? What do you think about lack of snow?
Oh, well, yes. I suppose that's an improvement because you don't have to spend any money on warming yourself and heating yourself. I had 2 coals in my fire and Cratchit, my clerk, was allowed half a coal.
All right.
Yeah, exactly.
I was wondering, and don't get offended, but are you in any way related to Grinch? Were you the original Grinch that inspired this green creature, or how do you feel about this?
I've never encountered this Grinch creature till I came to America. But again, it seems to be everybody is cashing in on me. Don't suppose Dr. Seuss has given any percentage to Charles Dickens for pitching the idea of a curmudgeonly creature. But I think I can curmudgeon quite nicely by myself without any help from a Grinch, whatever that might be. Yeah.
So, the actual fictional story of Dickens says that eventually you got, in a way, converted. So where are you with the Christmas right now? Because, you know, things happened. You saw some ghosts.
I did, yes.
And
true. Yes,
that kind of melted your heart a little bit, right?
Observe me melting now.
To a sweet little old man. Oh, I'm so happy. Oh, God bless us all. Bob Cratchit, my dear fellow. I'm going to raise your salary. And what's more, I'm going to assist your struggling family. And this afternoon we'll discuss their affairs over a steaming bowl of Christmas bishop. Merry Christmas, Bob. Merry Christmas, everybody. I'm now a sweet little old man. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, very wonderful. Yeah.
Okay. And maybe the last question for you, Mr. Scrooge. What do you think about other holidays that, you know, winter holidays? Like, what do you think about Hanukkah?
Well,
And
yes, quite right. I mean, let them enjoy them.
Now they're nice, Scrooge. Let them enjoy themselves. Let everybody be happy, because we all partake of a humanity. We must all share in the joys of the winter season. We all need to cheer ourselves up. After all, the Romans had their Saturnalia on which Christmas is based. Of course, there's no authoritarian belief that dear Jesus was born on the 25th of December, but it happens to fall during the Roman Saturnalia. So everybody should enjoy themselves during winter, because it's a nasty time. It's cold, it's wet, it's miserable, apart from in California, of course. Aren't you lucky to be living in California? Yes.
thank you. I can see that. I can see the great change, and you sound really good at the moment. And we are very happy to have you in California. And how about we read something? We make a little presentation.
Right, okay. Well, I shall do the Cratchits' Christmas dinner. We seem to have the Cratchits here dining in front of me, so we'll do the Cratchits' Christmas dinner. The Ghost of Christmas Present conveyed Scrooge through the streets of London. Here again, by looking in the windows, he could tell it was Christmas-tide, and yet the people were dressed now in the fashions and styles of his own time. The ghost conducted him to Camden Town, poor working-class district of the capital, to the humble lodging of Bob Cratchit, his clerk. As they entered, Mrs. Cratchit, Bob's wife, was busy laying a white cloth upon the board, assisted by her second daughter, Belinda, whilst Master Peter Cratchit, eldest son of the house, was prodding at the potatoes bubbling on the hearth, as two small Cratchits, boy and girl, twins, came running in from outside to say,
Outside the baker's shop, we smelt the goose cooking and known it for our own goose. Goosey, 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 goosey. Now, calm down, my dears, calm down. You're making me giddy. Where's your precious father got to, and Tiny Tim? And where's our Martha? She weren't as late as this last Christmas Day. Here I am, mother, cries a young woman entering in shawl and bonnet. I'm sorry I'm late, but we had a great deal of tidying up to do after the rich folks' Christmas Eve dinner last night. Well, never you mind, my dear. You come and sit down and warm yourself by the fire. No. Father's coming, Martha. Go and hide behind the closet door.
So Martha went and hid behind the closet door, as little Bob entered, wearing his white comforter scarf and bearing on his shoulders his youngest child, Tiny Tim. Ah, alas for Tiny Tim. His little limbs were supported by iron frames, and he carried a wooden crutch. "Where's Martha?" asked Bob. "Not coming," said Mrs. Cratchit, winking at the others. "What? Our Martha not coming on Christmas Day?" There was such a declension of Bob's high spirits that Martha couldn't bear it, even if it was in jest. So she ran from her hiding place prematurely into her father's arms. The twins bore little Tiny Tim off to the wash-house to listen to the pudding singing in the kettle.
How did dear Tiny Tim behave in church, Bob?
As good as gold. You know, he says the strangest things. He said he was happy he was lame sitting there in the church, because it would make people think of him who made the blind to see and the lame to walk. Little Tim's active crutch was heard. So Bob prepared a punch of gin, water and lemons, whilst Master Peter went off to the baker's shop to get the goose. Such an activity ensued. Belinda mashed up the potatoes and made sweetened apple sauce. The twins laid places for everybody around the board. Mounting at their own positions, they put spoons into their mouths, lest they should scream for goose before it was their turn to be served. At length, the goose was placed upon the table, and Bob said grace. "Well, what we are about to receive, my dears, may the good Lord make us truly thankful. Amen."
Amen, 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 amen.
Ran round the table.
eked out with a mashed potato and applesauce. It was sufficient for the entire family, and when they'd finished, not one atom of the bird remained apart from beak, claws, and bones. Then Mrs. Cratchit brought in the Christmas pudding, a speckled cannonball flaming in a quartern of ignited brandy. Bob declared that this here pudding was the greatest triumph of Mrs. Cratchit since their wedding day. Mrs. Cratchit said, well, she had been rather concerned about the quantity of flour, but in the event it turned out to be really rather nice after all. Thank you very much. Yes, indeed, thank you. Everyone had something nice to say about the pudding, and nobody suggested it was a very small pudding, but a very large family. Then Bob proposed, a toast, my dears, a Merry Christmas, bless us, which everyone echoed, Tiny Tim the last of all. God bless us, everyone. Bob kept his arm round the little fellow's shoulder, as if he was afraid he might lose him. Scrooge noticed this and turned to the ghost and inquired, Spirit, tell me, will Tiny Tim live?
Unless the future of these shadows is altered, the child will die. But what of it, Scrooge? Let him die, and so decrease the surplus population.
And Scrooge, remembering his own words, bowed his head to the ground in shame, but raced on the instant at hearing his own name. Mr. Scrooge, my dears, I propose the health of Mr. Scrooge, the champion provider of our feast. Provider of our feast, said Mrs. Cratchit, reddening. I wish I had him here. I'd give him a piece of my mind to feast upon. My dear, it's Christmas Day. Think of the children. It would have to be Christmas Day on which we drank the health of such a mean, stingy, unfeeling man. You know he is, Robert. But my dear, it's Christmas. All right, I'll drink his health for your sake and the day's. To Mr. Scrooge, a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. You'll be very happy and merry, I have no doubt. It was the first part of their proceedings that had no pleasure in it. It was fully 10 minutes before their high spirits returned. But then they were 10 times the happier for having Scrooge the Baleful over and done with for another year. And Scrooge kept his eye on the vision of the Cratchits' Christmas dinner as it faded from sight, and especially upon Tiny Tim.
Scrooge, look here. I have one more thing to show you.
And the ghost drew back the long skirts of his green gown, and there, crouched at his feet, were 2 children, boy and girl, yellow, pale, wolfish, emaciated. Scrooge drew back in horror. Spirit, are these children yours?
They are mankind's. This boy is ignorance, this girl is want. Beware them both, but most of all, beware this boy. For I see doom written across his forehead, unless the writing be erased.
But have they no refuge? Have they no comfort?
Are there no prisons? Are there no workhouses?
Scrooge again, remembering his own words, bowed his head to the ground as the church bells began to ring out the midnight hour.
Frank here.
Thank you, Howard. Ladies and gentlemen, we have here now F. Howard Burnham.
Right. Hey.
And I will ask him a couple of questions, and then you can address whoever you want to address. Okay, Howard?
Yes.
I want to talk about your actual own Christmas memories from England.
Right. Well, I'm a victory baby. I was born just after World War II, which means that until 1952-53, there was rationing in the United Kingdom. And when I was a child, chicken was a luxury. We had chicken for Christmas, and that was very, very exciting. So we'd have chicken, and we'd have bread sauce and stuffing to eke it out. And of course, our Christmas when I was a child, not today, not the contemporary Great Britain, but when I was a child, Christmas started on Christmas Eve. We put up the Christmas tree on Christmas Eve, not a month or more beforehand, as it seems to be the case in the United States. I was doing an engagement at the Mohonk Mountain House in Upper New York. I did a Thanksgiving program, and the very next day the Christmas tree went up. What's this doing? So that was an education for me. But Christmas tree goes up on Christmas Eve, and it stays up for the 12 days of Christmas until Epiphany, and then it goes down again. But in America, Christmas tree goes up immediately after Thanksgiving and goes down immediately after Christmas. So that was a difference.
Sounds like a letter to editor to me.
Yes. Pompous retired Briton living in Monterey protests at American Christmas tree practices. Yes, I wouldn't dare do such a thing. Yeah.
May I ask you, you moved as an adult to the US, but you picked up acting from being a historian already in the UK. But
yes.
I want to know if you remember your first Christmas in America. Like, did it feel homesick at all?
I suppose to a certain extent it is, yes. I think we're living in South Carolina at the time. And in England, we used to have goose for Christmas. Change the subject slightly. I'm a quarter American. My paternal grandfather was an American, which is why by chapter of accidents I ended up here in California. And I was incredibly annoyed to learn that my American cousins seemingly had two Christmases. They had this curious thing called Thanksgiving with turkey, and they did the same thing less than a month later, for December the 25th, and I thought, that's jolly unfair, and there I am just eating chicken. So, then my first Christmas in South Carolina, we said, well, come on, let's try and do the traditional thing, let's get goose. Can you get a goose in South Carolina for Christmas? Well, you can if you're prepared to sort of pay an arm and a leg for it, and it probably gets shot on its way down from Canada, and the thing had lots of shotgun pellets in it, so it was not very nice to eat. And of course, there is not much meat on a goose. There's lots and lots of fat on a goose. It keeps you in fat for cooking your potatoes for the next 6 months, but that's the good thing about goose. But my memory was my great disappointment of not being able to eat goose in my first American Christmas.
What about your California Christmas? You've lived around us for many years now.
I've been here for 10 years.
Oh, yeah. So, let's talk about what you're going to do this year.
Well, this year, I think this year, because my daughter-in-law is Chinese, we're going to have a sort of very eclectic kind of Christmas.
Okay.
so I should be making noodles, and I think my wife's going to make a roast pork. I think pork is quite safe for the Chinese part of my family. So it's going to be a sort of a wonderfully eclectic Christmas this time round. And
sounds great.
My granddaughter she's just coming out to the end of her terrible twos. She's a terrible two at the moment. She's going to be 3 in beginning of February. So we're just praying that when she becomes 3, there's going to be a sea change. It is going to be, but some people say 3 is even worse. So we're about to find that out. Yes.
You started as a historian, and the more I read about history, the more depressed I am actually. And I wonder if, you know, you changing it into entertainment by embodying famous Englishmen, is that the way to propagate history without being, you know, very sad?
Yes, I mean, I've always loved theatre. I've always loved performing, and I had a fair competence at it. And my midlife crisis was to come to my grandfather's country and see if I could earn my living being an actor rather than being a pedant, because I was a teacher for most of my professional career. I was deputy head or vice principal, as you call it here, of a very expensive private girls' school in North Yorkshire in a beautiful Palladian house called Duncan Park. And as well as teaching history, I did all the drama, and there was also quite a famous music festival that took place in that town, and they wanted a dramatic input into the music festival. They couldn't afford to pay more than one actor, so I started writing one-man characterizations, which kept me in beer and skittles for a number of years. And then I used to come to visit my uncle in Florida, and used to do it for libraries down in the Florida Keys, and that seemed to work quite well. And then I thought I had enough money and confidence to come to America and see if I could become an actor. So I've always used theatre with teaching history, because it makes it entertaining. When you're a teacher and you've got poor kids, I mean, they're a captive audience, and they don't take prisoners. You've got to keep them amused, otherwise you're toast. Fortunately, I could by and large amuse them for the most part.
Oh my gosh! So you actually, you know, embodied your historic characters in front of them, and that's how it started.
Yes. My death of Nelson was very famous.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you also played Queen Victoria. Can we find out about circumstances that?
Well, that's true up to a point, Lord Cropper. That was sort of basically voice acting. I have a literary program about Queen Victoria in which I do various sort of, I tell Victoria's story through different characters, and I do a little sketch in which Queen Victoria, just after she is married, goes and discovers that Albert is shaving himself. What is it?
Can I come in, Albert?
Oh, yes, you can, Weibchen.
Oh, Albert, what are you doing?
I am shaving myself.
Albert, how exciting. I've never seen a man shave himself before.
Oh, no, I suppose not.
Can I watch you do it?
Oh, if it would amuse you, Weibchen.
Is it dangerous?
Not if you don't talk to me when I am wiping myself.
I'm so sorry, Albert.
You see, I have to be very careful of the soup.
Albert, you mean soap?
Oh, there are so many English words I do not understand, Weibchen.
Oh, I can help you, Albert.
And so on. That was basically my Queen Victoria.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
When you were a teenager growing up, what was your first plan for your professional life?
Oh, probably before I realized sort of how limited I was, A, by being myopic, and B, having Perthes disease in my left hip. I wanted to be a soldier like my father. My father was a brigadier, or I think it's a one-star general in America, and I wanted to be like Papa. But I very rapidly sort of dropped that idea when I had to join the combined cadet force or officer training corps at my public school, which of course in America means a private school, which we're divided by a common language. I mean, public schools in England are private schools. And I did not enjoy battle dress was extremely itchy and uncomfortable, and having to polish your boots and be shouted at by the NCOs. Didn't like that at all, because I was an artistic flower. So I rapidly gave up the idea of becoming a soldier.
You embodied many Englishmen by now. What is on your bucket list? Something that you really want to, do it one day, but you didn't have a chance yet?
Well, I'm about to do early next year on my series of Zoom programs for the Monterey County Theatre Alliance. I'm about to do Lawrence Sterne, the 18th century humorist and writer, who is I'm a great fan of Tristram Shandy, which is the original sort of off-the-wall, oddball novel, possibly the original of Monty Python humour. So I shall do a characterisation of Lawrence Sterne in Paris at the start of the 7 Years' War, what the Americans call the French and Indian War.
Oh, I know.
When being Lawrence Sterne and being completely ingenuous, he didn't realise that war had been declared between Great Britain and France, and that there he was as an enemy alien in the French capital. So he had to go to Versailles and appeal to the Comte de Bissy, who was an enthusiast of Shakespeare, to give him an introduction to the Duc de Choiseul, so he might be given a special passport to pass through France without being arrested as a spy or an enemy agent. So that's the context of the program in which he explains to the Comte de Bissy his life story. So that's what I want to do, and I shall be doing it. I'm glad to say that I've been given permission to do it.
Would you play Boris Johnson?
Bojo. I want to do Bojo. No, Bojo, well, I'm far too old to do Bojo. B, I suppose I haven't got that terrible shock of hair. C, I did not go to Oxford. No, I don't think I want to do Bojo. And there are quite a lot of other characters I've been offered and have not done. I mean, the one sort of English character is I was asked to do what I do, a characterization of Sir Oswald Mosley, Ozzy Mozzie, the leader of the British Union of Fascists. I mean, he's an interesting character. And actually, I was asked to do that because I do have a characterization of Lord Redesdale, the father of the Mitford sisters. And I tell the story of my poor daughter Unity, who fell in love with Hitler. And I had to go and rescue her from Switzerland when she put a bullet through her head. It's quite an interesting story. But people said, oh, you've done Lord Redesdale, why don't you do Sir Oswald Mosley? And I said, well no, I have a little bit of sympathy with Lord Redesdale, but not for Ozzy Mozzie.
Well, before we'll make you available for the audience and their questions, my last would be, what are your current and future projects? Something that is on your horizon, something that we can see somewhere in Monterey County.
Yes, well, if you have the time and the idleness, you can come to the paradoxically named indoor theatre or the outdoor theatre, a little black box studio 40-seater that's underneath the stage of the Forest Theatre in Carmel. At 3 o'clock on 22nd and the 23rd of December, when I shall be doing my complete Dickens Christmas Carol in the character of Charles Dickens, not as Mr. Scrooge, in which I play sort of 30-plus characters, and it's free except you're asked to make a donation, so you pay what you think I'm worth, and the money goes not to me, it goes to the Monterey County Theatre Alliance and also to PAC Rep's children's program. So if you have the time and the idleness, come to the indoor theatre, 22nd, 23rd at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Howard. And now, Keely will help us with the audience question.
Since I've got the microphone, I'm going to, I guess it's not so much a question, but it's a bit of solidarity. Mm-hmm. I am a second-generation American. My grandfather is from Cumbria, in the northern part of England. And so we put our Christmas tree up on about the 21st, and we took it down on the 26th, even as an American. So
right.
We're with you. That was my mom's doing.
Right. I lived and worked in Cumbria for some time, in Kendal. Yeah.
It's beautiful up there.
Yes.
Yes.
Mm.
You mentioned some online content that can be accessed. Could
Yes.
you tell us a little bit more about that? And also, I wanted to know, do you play Churchill?
Oh, yes.
Mr. Churchill. I am done, Mr. Churchill. I complained bitterly about your president making those awful gin cocktails. I have a little strategy. I pretend that I need a bathroom break, and I pour the contents into the commode. Take a nice whiskey and soda instead.
Yes, I do. But the Monterey County Theatre Alliance has these series of Zoom presentations, which I've been doing now. What started during the COVID lockdown, And I must have done about between 40 and 50 of them now. And early next year I shall do this Lawrence Stern, and then I shall be doing, I think, my brain is seizing up on me, but I've written a sort of duet for me to do with the president of the Monterey County Theatre Alliance about Victoria Claflin Woodhull, the first lady that ran for the American presidency back in the late 19th century. So she's quite an interesting girl. So we're going to do something about her. And I'm going to do a characterization of Sir Flinders Petrie, the father of modern Egyptology. Yes, I should do Flinders Petrie. Yeah. Right. Archive, yes. Yeah. Yes, please do. Yes, absolutely.
I would imagine these would be available if you went to the Monterey County the Theatre Alliance website.
Yeah, go to their website, Monterey County Theatre Alliance. You'll find all the links and information of what I do and what other people do as well, because there's plenty of other live theatre, not just me.
Pam's question is about memorization. She's awed at his memorization abilities.
Well, by and large, I have a reasonably good memory. It's one thing I can do fairly well. I have no practical skills whatsoever. I cannot change a tire on a car. I have difficulties screwing in a light bulb, because I suppose I'm used to using bayonet light bulbs in the English manner. It just goes in, jump, it's in. But here, you've got to screw it in. And I by and large, I can remember words. And obviously the advantage, a lot of the material that I use, I write myself, and that's why you part learn it because you're writing it yourself. And that helps. But the older I get, the more difficult it is to learn lines. I mean, I have on occasion sort of dried on stage, but I had just about enough experience to sort of dig myself out of a hole, particularly if you're doing a one-man presentation and you lose your lines. The audience doesn't know you've lost your lines. You just improvise. Exactly. Yeah. So acting with other people, you have a responsibility to feed them the correct cues. So the older I get, the safer I feel acting by myself. Yes. Any more for any more?
Do you have any other questions?
Or am I off the hook?
All right. Well, thank you so much to the both of you. What a wonderful presentation. Do you have anything else you'd like to leave us with?
Well, bless you all.
All
for coming.
right.
Thank you very much. Thank you.